morning, everyone. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is the United show. This is Devil's Advocate. I'm your host, Keane. Here today to talk everything Manchester United. We're going to talk about today's game against Brentford. We're also going to talk all the latest news, transfer news, and whatever you guys bring up in the comments as well. I hope everyone is well. I'm joined today by Mark, Stu, and Ellis. Here to talk everything United, and great panel here this morning. So I hope everyone's having a good weekend so far. While Man United aren't playing, and I hope you're all enjoying the good weather that we're having as well. First of all, Mark, haven't seen you in a while on the show. Obviously, I seen you in Manchester when I was quite intoxicated, but we won't talk about that live on air because it is 11 o'clock in the morning. So, how are you today, pal?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you, mate. I'm glad you brought up before me because I would have said some different words, but we've cleared the air there, so that's fine. But no, cheers for having me on. As you said, what a great panel. Good to see the boys again and good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to be back. And again, it's actually great to be talking on a Saturday morning. It kind of feels like a soccer AM-ish feel that we're all sitting here talking about football at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning. And still, you've been flying it ever. You're hosting on plenty of shows, plenty of channels. You've been talking United almost nearly every day of the week. How's life been?
Yeah, well, it's this time of the year. The wife and the girls, they go off and they do lots of stuff, and I'm working from home, so I get a bit of extra time to do stuff. But yeah, life's good. Life's good. I was saying to the lads earlier, I'm coming out of retirement this afternoon, which is not good at my age at all to play 90 minutes. I'll probably get 45 minutes in at this heat. So I'm doing the reaction show with Mark a bit later. So we'll see how we do. But all in all, yeah, pretty good. As for the hosting gig, well, I'm trying. It's I like the tactical side of the game, as you guys know. So that's working for me at the minute.
That's good. That's good. Keep up the good work as well. It's good to see you're hosting as well, and you're doing shows on multiple different platforms. So it's good to see you're keeping that up. Ellis, you yourself, obviously a man who does his own podcasts. You've been flying here as well as your own podcast. How's your summer been?
Yeah, it's been really busy to be fair. Just been doing loads of different things, festivals. Got my GCC results the next couple of weeks. Going on holiday to Madeira next Friday. So, and other than that, I've just been trying to survive this heat. To be honest, it's been absolutely minging. I'm all for abroad heat, but UK heat is not it. It's just grim. Sleeping last night was the worst experience of my life.
Yeah, man, I feel you in that. Like, do you know what? It's the same here in Ireland. We're getting 30 odd degree heat, and we're not used to it over here. There's a reason why our grass is green over here, because the amount of rain we get. So like to have that heat over here, we're all cooking over here as well. And I can't wait till it starts raining tomorrow. We're due rain here tomorrow, so I'm absolutely fucking buzzing for that. But anyway, here today to talk everything United. It's great to see all you guys here. Mark, let's come to you first. Obviously, we're playing Brentford tomorrow. Huge game in terms of very early on in their season. We lost last weekend against Brighton, and to be quite honest, it looks like we're under a bit of pressure now with the fact that we have the Scousers next week. What are your thoughts kind of coming into today's game, considering we're already at a 3-point deficit, and like Brentford, as we've seen from many teams last season, going away to there isn't easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who'd have thought we would be in such a high-pressure position already? Really poor performance at the weekend, striving for our first 3 points. But really, if you try and look at it a bit more pragmatically, you can kind of understand. So far we've been linked with numerous players. He's got three good players that we're all happy and excited about, but he needs more. Unfortunately, I'm not a massive fan of McTominay. I am a fan of Fred. I think he's severely criticised on a lot of occasions, but I think he's a decent player and certainly a good squad player. But as we've seen time and time again, when you have those two in the middle, it doesn't create that sort of fluidity and give a good transition, getting on the front foot. So I think that unfortunately, whilst it obviously worked out more times than not for Ollie in the past, I think they're very sort of stale, those two, when they play together. And I think teams can play against us and know how to play against us. So I think it's important for Eric to get in a couple more players. particularly in the midfield position. And I'd probably shake it up a little bit and have a different midfield three today, which would include Eriksen myself. So it's a tough one. It's not ideal, but it is expected. I didn't expect any more. You know, you're playing Brighton, who are a very good side, well drilled, have lost some big players, and yet still play some very, very good football. And you can't be surprised at that. But this, hopefully, we say this every year, will give the impetus to get the players in and the players that he wants. So we just have to wait and see. But I'm more confident today. I think Eric does know what he's doing. I'm really behind the man, and he needs a bit of time. So hopefully he will change it up. He knows what he's doing better than we do, and we'll see a difference today.
Yeah, really hope so, and hope that, obviously, as you said, I do echo that in terms of the impetus. Hopefully, it does give us that today, and kind of, you know, we see a couple of changes that's been ranked today in terms of balance to the team. Still, we will delve into the tactics later on in the show in terms of lineups and our midfield situation. But just brief thoughts. Just, I suppose, the fact that we're against, again, another very well coached team in Brentford, and obviously Erik ten Hag is still finding his feet. Are you any bit concerned that, you know, it could be a case of deja vu this week?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go into any game of football wanting to win, thinking you can win, hoping you can win. But it really happened, you know, whatever happens during the game, you can only affect yourself. And I've always said this, you know, Mark's heard me talk about this 1,000,001 times. As an individual, take care of your segment on that football pitch. Once you take care of that segment, and your mate takes care of his, and your mate takes care of his, it should even itself and it should help you progress during the game. Look, I went on a show last week and I asked the question, why hasn't McTominay and Fred improved after 4 years of playing together? And that's that's the biggest question I can't answer. I don't get it. Our professional footballers cannot improve their game. I don't get it. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I advocated a different system. I'm with Mark. You got to change it up this week. You can't go with McFred today. I think even Ten Hag will realise if he goes with McFred today and we lose, he'll get lynched on Twitter. He'll get, you know, it was bad enough last week. All the Twitter clowns going on about, you know, Ten Hag's not improving us, blah, 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 blah. And so I advocated throwing in Martinez there just for that one game, just to mix it up a bit.
That's what I'm going with.
Well, the reason is he anticipates very, very well. If you watched him against Brighton, if you watched his movements, his anticipation was huge. It was brilliant. He's very, very comfortable on the football. Yeah, he had a dodgy first 5 to 8 minutes, didn't he? Gave the ball away twice. He panicked on 2 or 3 occasions. But once he got his head in the game and he played himself into the game, he was magnificent. And that means bringing in Maguire and Varane to play alongside Maguire. We'll talk about this later, but that's what I would do. And within that, I would partner in with Eriksen. I'd stick Bruno. If Ronaldo doesn't play, Bruno would have been my false 9, and he would have had a more fluid front 3 with Rashford and with Sancho. As that didn't transpire, and they put Eriksen as a false 9 for. Oh, crikey. God only knows why. I don't get it. I still don't get that. It became a more static front 3, and you can't have that. You need to have freedom within your front 6, so to speak. So I know we'll delve deep into it. So those are my thoughts anyway. But the biggest question I've got, and if anyone can tell me why Fred and McFred haven't improved in 4 years of playing together, virtually 90% of the games, by the way, within that 4-year period, I'm at a loss and staggered as to why there's been no improvement in the game.
So I think it's probably a case of that they have their ceiling in terms of where their qualities are. And I think in a system where we want to be proactive with the ball, I think they're not the partnership you want in there. If we're playing a counter-attacking system, I think they're perfect. If we're countering, if we're winning the ball back and releasing it quickly, and they're not doing anything, like if you give Bruno the impetus in the number 10 to do the creative side of things, and that's fine. But in a system where you want to be proactive and you want to be creative, they're not going to be the partnership. And I do agree with you, Stu, on that. But look, we'll see what happens today. Obviously, Ten Hag will have his ideas in terms of today's system. We'll delve into lineups and how we think Ten Hag may shape up today. Ellis, obviously Christian Eriksen is going back to his former club. Obviously, he was with him for a 6-month period after the tragic incident at the Euros last summer. Obviously, he's going back to a club that obviously he probably holds very closely to his heart because, again, they gave him a chance after that incident. How do you think Eriksen's going to be feeling mentally kind of going back there, especially the fact he's settled into his role at United, but also going back to somewhere that kind of gave him that second chance of playing football?
I'm going to hope that he's going there to win the game. He's a Manchester United player and he needs to, he's a United player and we're going there to beat Brentford. Sorry, Brentford obviously gave him a chance, took a chance on him, brought him back into the world of professional football. But you're a Manchester United player now. You're going there to get 3 points against Brentford and that should be the only thing on his mind.
100%. We kind of need that siege, mentality in terms of, players who can go there and obviously put them sentimental feelings aside, because I think sentimentality has been something that this football club that we've had a bit too much. And hopefully Eriksen can obviously get that out of his mind and get on with the game today. Look, if he wants to go for a glass of wine or something like that after the game with his former teammates, then look, we leave him off, but we better get the 3 points before he goes off and does that. But yeah, great first initial thoughts, guys. In terms of this, I want to go to Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo obviously looks like he's staying at United now. Erik ten Hag's been really, strong with the point that Ronaldo's committing his future to the club, Mark. In terms of his role now this season, obviously we actually spoke off camera literally just before this. We're going to be playing Thursday, Sunday now, more or less every week between now and if we get through the group stage, which we'd like to think we would, till at least February anyway. Providing we do get through the group stage. How do you think Ronaldo's going to kind of adapt to this role now? It looks like he's committed now. It looks like he's staying. How do you think he adapts his role between this kind of Thursday, Sunday football, and because we haven't signed a striker yet? How do you think Erik ten Hag kind of adapts his attacking options, especially with, I suppose, an incoming 38-year-old Ronaldo?
Yeah, it's gone very quiet, hasn't it, in the last couple of weeks? And I think you're right. I think he'll end up staying. And we were talking about this backstage, and I think it's about time that United put their foot down with these things, and I'm pleased that they've done that. I think he should see his the rest of his contract out. But I don't think that he needs to adapt necessarily. He's a almost 38-year-old man who has a wealth of experience. He's still very quick and can adapt to the system that Erik ten Hag wants. Ultimately, he's there to score 20-plus goals a season. He can still do that within this squad, within this team. And if he's available, he absolutely, for me, starts as your number 9. Obviously, it's nice to play a false 9 from occasions, but if he's available and he's willing and he's going to obviously be at his best, which he will be the majority of the time, you have him as your number 9. He wants to be playing. I know he wants to be playing in the Champions League. It's a bit unfortunate for him this season. It's just not going to happen. And but ultimately, he wants to be playing. So he can adapt himself. We can play to his strengths and he can play to our strengths. It's not about one man. Fundamentally, he's there to score goals, and I fully expect him to start today.
Yeah, and just on that, Stu, as well, Mark fully expects Ronaldo to start today. And what do you think of Ronaldo's, I suppose, initial performance against Brighton when he did come off the bench? He looked a bit threatening at times. Do you think, just with a bit more match fitness, obviously, look, he's 37, but he's also a genetic freak. No 37-year-old footballer in this generation has looked like Cristiano. Do you think, obviously, with a bit more match practice, match fitness, that he'd, obviously, as Mark said, he'd be able to adapt to Erik ten Hag's system, but also Erik ten Hag will be able to adapt to Ronaldo?
Yeah, well, first of all, Keane, there comes a time in a man's life where you have to kind of grow up. You have to stop chucking your toys out the pram when things don't go your way. And Ronaldo, I think, has had this dose of reality, like a 10-ounce boxing glove smashing his face. I think he realises that as well as I am Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm not the Cristiano Ronaldo of 10 years ago where clubs will be snapping to get me. I think he's had this dose of reality. I don't think he likes it.
Spot on.
But I do think that he showed sparks of what we can see from him again this year. His ability and his instinct inside that box is tremendous, and this is why he gets 20 goals a season. This is, his movement, his ability to outjump the defenders, his, speed of thought within there. I thought our goal of the season last year was our away goal against Arsenal, where Tellez crossed it and he took it on his, brought it down between two central defenders and then looped over the keeper. It was a wonderful bit of skill. Nobody else in our squad would have been able to achieve that, let alone stick it in the back of the net. And this is the criteria that you're looking for a top class number 9. I speak about it all the time, Keane. They live and breathe within the 9-yard area. Okay, that's where they live, that's where they hunt, and that's where they score all of their goals. The real sharp executionists, when the ball comes in, are there. That's where Beckham was brilliant at crossing. Dwight York used to live there. Andy Cole used to live there. Ruud van Nistelrooy set up camp there. Pippo Inzaghi, who Alex Ferguson said was born offside, lived in that little area, that little box. And that's why they got all the goals. Now, as good as Rashford is, as good as Martial is, as good as Sancho is, as good as our number 11, if he ever comes back, is, although I don't want him back, but if he ever did, okay, they don't live there. They don't understand that. They're more attacking the box rather than utilising their strengths and skill within the box. So whatever we do moving forward, you've got to find that type of footballer that will almost replace Ronaldo. I think what was our I can't remember what our goal scoring tally was last year, but there was Ronaldo. Then I think our next best scored about 5, didn't they? 6, 7, maybe. Yeah. So you can't automatically all of a sudden start sharing the goals around. It doesn't, it's not going to work, is it? And that was proved on Sunday against Brighton. So for me, Ronaldo, you got to dust it off, mate. You've got to tuck in your skirt and you've got to get on with it. And you've got to get out there at Brentford tonight, mate. You've got to make a statement, score 3 goals and shove 2 fingers up to the world. Because sometimes you've got to be selfish and sometimes you've got to be mean. As a number 9, you've just got to be mean, selfish. And he's the only one that can do it for us. So I think you'll see Ronaldo adapt very, very quickly. But you're right to point out, Keane, about little flashes of brilliance he showed against Brighton, but there was only 2 or 3 out of his cameo appearance. You need more out of that this year, this game. The flip side of it is, and I will shut up now, mate, but the flip side of it is, and Mark's heard me talk about 1 shot, 1 goal. Okay, there are only a handful of players that can take 1 chance and score, because we might only get 1 chance tonight against Brentford. You never know. And that's got to be Cristiano Ronaldo, and he will put it away. So that's the type of thing you've got to consider when you're looking at what Ronaldo can bring and what other strikers can't bring. Sorry to go on, mate.
No, man, you can go as long as you want, Joe. Like I do love listening to your insights, Joe. So never apologize when you're making a point here. Not at all. Ellis, just kind of on what the backers you said, obviously Ronaldo was kind of in that kind of, I suppose, very small category of number 9s who can kind of make the difference and be that kind of sharpshooter in the box who can, finish a half chance. Not many number 9s in the world at the moment can do it. Obviously, you have your Haalands, your Kanes, strikers like that who kind of in that same kind of bracket at the moment. When you look at like players, such as Sancho, Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Eriksen, like we look at our chance creation. It's high, but last weekend we kind of seen without that presence in the box that we did struggle. Do you think like players like Rashford and Sancho are going to have to be more industrial in, like, I suppose, show the more industrial side of their game? That you see they need to be putting in them kind of half chances to Cristiano, to be better.
Well, yeah, strikers need service to be able to score goals. That's not a given. Obviously, Stu mentioned that Ronaldo can take chances, but if the chances aren't there to take, then what do you expect him to do? He can't magic something out of nothing. It's going to be a difficult one against Brentford. Brentford are a really technical side. The wingers are going to have to be able to put a good cross in. Rashford can't cross, so there's already a downside. And obviously Fernandes is probably going to be in the starting 11, and I think that might be a bit of an issue because Ronaldo and Fernandes together aren't exactly the greatest of dynamics. They don't exactly kind of work efficiently as you need, and especially so Brentford. So last week Brighton, especially in the second half, put men against the ball, and that's where Fernandes is good in the half spaces when there's players behind the ball and he can dictate. Brentford can play two systems. Brentford are very proactive going forward and like to keep the ball, and they can also sit back. So Fernandes, I don't think this is the game for him. United need to be tidy in possession, not being able to look for the hero ball, not giving it away. So I don't think Fernandes needs to start. I think Eriksen should play in the 8, and then Ronaldo will have them chances because Eriksen's got a better passing in than Fernandes. Fernandes is a great player, but Fernandes against a team that can punish on the counter, are very good and tidy in possession. I don't think it's his sort of game. So if Eriksen and Rashford and Sancho are on it, and Eriksen can get them balls into the wide channels, put crosses in, I think we should be all right. So, yeah, it just depends whether the creativity is there throughout the midfield and obviously going forward.
Just a quickie, Keane. Just a quickie. What you've listened to there, right, is somebody who understands football and not a fan. And what I mean by that is he's looking at it. Sorry, Bruno, it ain't the right game for you today, mate. I'm sorry, you're going to move on. The fans will go absolutely berserk over this. But this is somebody who's identified the difference that's needed to play against Brentford. And this is why, this is where fans don't get it. They don't watch football. They see what goes on, but they don't actually watch football. Is it a good insight that was? Sorry, but I thought that was a really good insight. I really did.
But like in terms of that as well, like there is that kind of, I suppose, pressure on when teams put pressure on Fernandes. He does give the ball away. I think I think the first instance we actually seen that is when Chelsea marked him, and he was under a lot of pressure and he gave the ball away a lot. And I think that's what teams are doing to Bruno now. They're actually like when we're in that phase of attack, they're actually using Bruno as the trigger and to press. Similarly to Armand Bissaka, when he gets into that similar phase, they use him as the trigger to press for him to lose the ball. And I think with Bruno, there is certain oppositions that, he's not like the best player to have on the pitch. Now, we're playing Leeds United at home. He's the player to have on the pitch because Leeds are, I'm not going to use the analogy, but Leeds are open. Leeds are open at the back. And like, I think like against teams like that, Bruno can be handy. I think against the teams on the 18, he struggles because he tries to force it, and I think that's where he does struggle. But again, it'd be interesting to see like if a player like Anthony Martial is playing in a different game, rather than Ronaldo up top, because Ronaldo, like Martial and Bruno, do interchange with their movement and they actually have a great kind of relationship. So it depends on kind of what, if we do play against certain opposition, can Ten Hag be like tactically flexible to like adapt Bruno's role, adapt, let's say, Rashford's role. Like you mentioned there, right, like quite rightly, Rashford's like chance creation from like crossing isn't great, but like can you in this instance maybe play Martial maybe off the left in a game? And like he's very good with his link-up play. Like rather than crossing the ball into the box, can you play a Martial there? And like without crossing the ball, can you drag players out of position to create more chances for Ronaldo or even the Jadon Sancho when he's cutting in as well? Like it's very interesting how, like, because we know Ten Hag plays a multitude of systems. He plays a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, and we've even seen sometimes Ajax he went with a 3-4-3 as well. And so like that's something that I don't think we'll see that much for United playing a 3-4-3, because I don't think we have the midfielders kind of, I suppose, defensively disciplined enough to play that yet. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how flexible he is with these systems, as you quite rightly mentioned, Ellis, against teams who aren't tactically flexible, who could be attacking but also very good defensively as well. So that's an absolute fair point you made up. And to be fair, I'd love to see kind of how tactically flexible he be, especially next week against Liverpool. I know, look, next week we'll have a big preview for that. I have great guests coming up for that, ex-players as well. So do make sure to check that out next week on the channel and hit that subscribe button as well. We've plenty coming this week. You touched on Christian Eriksen, Marc, earlier on in the pod, and last week he played false nine for us, and he did struggle for kind of the large majority of that. He was kind of it's like he didn't know where to be. There was times he was dropping, like he was in the false nine role, but we also seen him maybe drop into a 6 to get the ball, to get the play started. That was the first time he played false nine in 9 years. When the last time he played that was for Spurs against Chelsea years ago. And like Steve obviously touched on that as well, in terms of he was very, like, he's our Tottenham fan here on the podcast. He was shocked to see that Eriksen did play in the false nine. Going forward, obviously he's a very good player. He's very versatile. He can play like out wide, number 10, number 8. And he tried to play false nine, but I think we kind of learned last weekend that that's definitely a position that he can't be utilised in. For you, when you look at Eriksen, where would you like to see him utilised this season? The fact we've Europa League and the Premier League as well. Like, where do you think, like in an Erik ten Hag system, he's best suited to play?
Yeah, I think everyone's already sort of alluded to this, but as a number 8, I think that where we've been lacking in a lot of games over the years, particularly in the last couple, is to break teams down that sit back. And I think someone like Christian Eriksen is exactly the type of player that you need as you get older as well. And obviously after the horror of last summer, those players tend to do a lot less running and dictate the play from the middle of the park and drop back. I don't think he did particularly well in that false nine position. That was a strange surprise for me as well. He did look a little bit lost. And I think that he will be utilised a lot this season, and I think it should be in that number 8 role. We seem to, once we pick up the ball from the number 6 position or thereabouts, we seem to find it very difficult to transition forward. And therefore, someone like Eriksen can then pick up that ball or receive that ball and then really look for those killer passes to get that forward, whether that's out wide or through the middle. So that's where I think he'll play. I think Erik ten Hag is fully aware of that as well. I'd be surprised if he isn't. And I expect him to play as a number 8 this season on a lot of minutes. I think he'll start a lot of games.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because obviously he's so versatile. I think he will be that kind of, I suppose, what Jose don't Mkhitaryan in season 1, where like he played him on the right, off the left, and number 10. Like he kind of used him in that way. I think Christian Eriksen might be used in that same way, especially in the tactical setups that we do play against like teams that sit on the 18 and other teams in the Europa League, who actually might, like, no disrespect to like other leagues, but like who are more open than what like the standard Premier League team would be. So it'll be interesting to see how he adapts that role. But I agree. I think in the number 8 role in the 4-3-3 or in a 4-2-3-1, I think Christian Eriksen can be massively utilised. And again, like, it's interesting to see how that's kind of modified, especially like if Donny van de Beek is in the team, which, to be fair, like there's many shouts his best position is the 8 as well, or is it the 10? There's many debate about where Donny's best position is as well. So it's interesting to see kind of how Ten Hag would, like, let's say all going not well, which is usually the case at United with transfers. Let's say if we don't sign a Frankie de Jong or a Rabiot or whoever it may be, let's say if we are stuck with the current midfield options we have, how Ten Hag gets the right balance in there.
This is another huge worry for me. You know, already we're becoming hugely reliant upon Eriksen, and you'll see that as the weeks progress. And you know, if he gets an injury, you know, as I said, he had an awful experience last summer. We have to keep that in mind. You know, and obviously, the physios will make that good assumption, you'd hope. But already we're becoming very reliant upon him, and if you lose him for whatever reason, you then got a bit of a problem for the middle of the park, and the midfield issue has been an issue really since 2008. Really, we've always needed to get that.
When Hargreaves got that injury, you haven't had a midfielder since, like.
Well, of course, we've needed a defensive midfielder for a very long time. And, of course, Hargreaves, since he got the injury, and then Carrick, we've never really addressed that issue. But not just that issue, the creativity a little bit further up, not quite the number 10. And this is the first player we've got in really that I can see that really fulfills that role. He's not a Bruno. He's in between the Bruno and the 6, really, for me. And I think that could be a huge issue if anything is to go wrong for him.
Yeah, and I think it's very important we do get this sorted out, Mark, because like if Frankie de Jong comes in, I think that's like, look, we're all kind of hanging our hats on that he'll be that answer in midfield, because like, look, he's one of the best midfield players in the world. There's no doubt about it. There's a reason why. I know Barcelona are financially, like, look, we're not going to get into the finances of Barcelona because Jesus Christ, I'll be here for the fucking day. But like in terms of like where, you know, like where he is and why Barcelona bought him in that midfield, that had like Busquets and stuff like that in there. There's a reason why they bought him, because he had won the best in the world at Ajax, and we've seen at Barcelona how good he is as well. But Mark talked about the midfield problem there, especially the fact if Eriksen gets an injury still, that we could be in a situation where, we're kind of going back to kind of the old, the semi-reliable McTominay and Fred partnership in midfield. There's been a lot of talk of James Garner. It looks like Forest want to sign him permanently. Looks like United, if they're leaving him go, at most it'll be a loan with no obligation to buy. When you look at our depth in midfield, and obviously Garner is really impressed the Forest, but what do United do with James Garner in this situation? Because he's someone who's is a really good midfield player, and he can actually play both at 6 and 8. Do you think Garner could be? Would it be the safest option to maybe keep him, considering kind of, I suppose, McTominay's lack of suitability for this midfield situation?
Look, for me, Garner goes to Brighton for 6 months on loan. It'd be the perfect place for Garner, because he'll play regular, and he'll get Premier League football. He's not quite ready for us yet. I know there's been a lot of clambering from the fans. Let's bring him in. He's going to do this, and this. But if you take him to Forest, or if you send him to Forest, depending on what happens with Forest, all right, they had a good result first week of the season, but Brentford did. If you remember, Brentford started off quite strong the first 3 or 4 games last season, and then tailed off until Eriksen came in and completely changed them again. My worry is that Garner will have that type of roller coaster. I think if he goes to someone like Brighton under Graham Potter, who we all know is a very, very tactically astute manager, but will play the type of football that will suit Garner's game, get him back in January, I think that'd be great for us. Then you'll see a different type of James Garner. Not a popular opinion, but I think it's the right thing for his development. In terms of what we do with the midfield, I think it's really, really interesting. See, Christian Eriksen's one of those, and Mark's right, by the way, he's a great 8. But Christian Eriksen's one of those that, he's that good. You shouldn't give him a number. You shouldn't label him as a number 8 or a 10 or a 6. He's one of those players that come along in a generation where you say to him, I just want you out on that pitch, pal. And I want you to go and do what you do. And I want you to circulate yourself within the middle third, because that's when you're dangerous, because you can create, you're calm under pressure, you can short pass, you can long pass, but more importantly, you can deliver to our man up top, Mr. Ronaldo. And this is, if I'm Ronaldo, I would be licking my lips at the thought of the types of crosses and balls into feet and balls in behind that Eriksen's going to play me. You need to let him off the leash. And that is why what Ellis was saying about Eriksen and Ronaldo in the same team was brilliantly spot on. You can't play the two together. So you got to look at it, and where do you juggle? And you juggle and you push. Unfortunately, you come on the side of Eriksen and you don't come on the side of Bruno, which is nuts considering what Bruno's done for us as a club. But Bruno now needs to adapt. Okay. And if Frankie de Jong comes in, it's a different story again. What do you do with Eriksen? Because you're going to, as you quite rightly said, Keane, you're going to utilise de Jong a lot more than perhaps what you will do Eriksen and Bruno. So you're going to see the flip between the Bruno and Eriksen. So Ellis is spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on that. I totally agree.
Absolutely. And again, it's a problem. But you know what? I actually look at it as a great problem.
We need that problem, Keane. We haven't had that problem for years. And so what I would do tonight, and this is just me, and it's my own humble opinion, I'd bring in Martinez as a 6, and I would play Eriksen, and I'd play Donny van der Beek, and I would play Donny
I'm so pleased you named those 3, because that's exactly my midfield tonight. Thank you.
I would have put Van der Beek in the 10. Your free roll goes to Eriksen, okay, and your holding roll goes to Martinez. That means bringing and reuniting Varane and Maguire, but provided Maguire plays on the right side and Varane plays on the left side, because look, I know you guys aren't Maguire fans, but nobody can tell me he didn't have a better game.
Oh, he had a good game on Sunday. That's why he played well on
the right side. Our only issue is going to be if we play that, and that's Ronaldo, Sancho, and Rashford for me up top, if they're all fit and available. Sorry, Keane, I'm jumping the gun here, Paul. I don't mean to. But I just want to note the error caution, and that is our 2 fullbacks. That is where our big problem is, because we're not inverted, and Shaw and Dalot don't understand their position. I can't believe I'm talking about it. 2 pro footballers don't know where to stand as fullback. That's where our issues are. But my midfield three today: Eriksen as a free roaming player, Donny van der Beek as a 10, and Martinez in as a 6.
You just very quickly, you mentioned about the fullbacks today. That is going to be our biggest issue. So what you tend to find with Brentford in the formation they play, they go from a 4-3-3 to a 3-5-2. One of the strikers will drop back and therefore push players out wide, and they use the channel. So it's going to be a big test for whoever starts at right and left back today.
Yeah, you see that massive test there, especially positionally. I think last week Dallo struggled massively.
Oh,
and Luke
terrible, Keane. You're absolutely right. I couldn't believe it. Could you? Couldn't believe.
No, I think positionally, like he got caught, especially in the transitions. He was he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, massively. I think Luke Shaw didn't know whether he was coming or going last week. Like there was one point, like we could have used him as a trigger for the overlap, but he was hesitant to go. Then on the other side, then positionally again, he gets caught over his shoulder. That's always happening as well. So like I think that's where the fullbacks are struggling. I think this is why Ten Hag wants a right back. Because I do believe by Christmas, Malacia is going to be our starting left back anyway.
I'd start tonight, Keane, to be honest, pal.
Yeah. He's in my team as well.
Yeah.
He's in my team today as well. But I think just like if you look at like Luke Shaw at the minute, like I think his time at United, it has been stop-start. And I think his confidence is at all-time low where I don't think it's like he can salvage that. I think last season he had such a bad season compared to the season before that. His confidence is just, it's gone P-tongue at the moment, and I don't think he can get back to that level.
I've got a question for you guys then. Left field, but would you try Brandon Williams in at right back tonight? Have you got a trust for Brandon Williams?
I wouldn't tonight, but 2 or 3 years ago on other shows, I was saying about Brandon coming in. I feel like he's a bit lost on that left-hand side. Now, I think he probably will be off. I'm not quite sure he's United quality. Could be a temporary answer, but I think I would be very surprised if he started right back, but I feel that he should be utilised there more.
That was his natural position in the 23s before Ethan Laird came up. Then obviously when Laird came through, they pushed him left back to have him both in the team.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Laird's gone, Laird's gone, hasn't he, to Watford, or he's going to Watford.
QPR.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, yeah.
I'm actually glad he went to QPR compared to Watford because, like, Watford is so unstable. So I think for Laird's development, QPR is definitely the right club.
Yeah.
Say if Ronaldo, for example, doesn't start, and we're all here thinking that Ronaldo is going to start. Say Ronaldo doesn't start, and we're going back to the false nine system. And Eriksen, for example, obviously was suited in that system last week, and we play that. So Eriksen's in the false nine again. This is my own personal opinion. I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. McTominay cannot play in that midfield because you said that Eriksen struggled, but Eriksen couldn't have the ball. He couldn't dictate because McTominay doesn't have the ability to play on the back foot and play with his back to the defence. Any midfielder from grassroots level knows you turn out on the back foot and that allows you to play a pass forward and it allows the transition to be better, which is what Marc has said really eloquently throughout the whole show. McTominay can't do that. Fred can do it. Is he great at it? No. So if he doesn't start, would you start Fred next to a Van der Beek? Would you potentially put Lissandro in the midfield? What would you do if we play the false nine system? Because McTominay cannot play out from the back. He cannot receive on the back foot and turn.
You can't play McTominay and Fred as a midfield too if you're playing a false nine because you don't have two midfielders who can retain possession. You can't have midfielders who can, be tactically astute to play that system. I think you probably if you're looking at the two of them, you play Fred more than you would McTominay, especially in that system. Because Fred,
I still, if we were playing Eriksen as a false nine, I'd still have Martinez as the 6, but I'd have Eriksen alongside Fred. I think Fred further forward is far better. Sorry, not Eric, Van der Beek, sorry, and Fred.
Can I just say one thing there, fellas? We can't go to Brentford and play a false nine. We can't do it. Yeah. Do you know what? I'd rather throw Elanga through the middle, seriously, than play a false nine. Which as Ellis is looking at me completely perplexed. That's the problem that we've got. No, because that's the problem we've got, though, isn't it? That's the issue we've got, though, isn't it? That when you look at our squad depth, that's the issue we've got. So if you do go as a false nine, you've got issues in midfield. If you go as a 9 without Ronaldo, you've got issues anyway. So either way, whichever way you slice it or dice it, we got a problem. So the lesser of the two evils to keep us in the game is to throw Langer as a straightforward 9.
And Elanga would press.
I'm not saying
Elanga
it
would
work,
press
but
as
it
well.
won't. But I'm just saying that when you look at and weigh up what we've got, look, we haven't got a Tammy Abraham to come in. It'd be a great 9 for us, Tammy Abraham would. We don't have a Tony. We don't have an Ivan Tony. I'm just talking about a target man here. I'm not. I'm not talking about real quality. I'm just talking about a target man. You know, Manchester United were looking for a good holding player. We should be knocking on Tottenham's door for Højbjerg. He won't come to us because why would he? But you know, these are unfashionable players that people, you know, what are we going for Højbjerg for? The issue that we had with Rabiot was nobody understands Rabiot as a footballer. If you watch Rabiot as a footballer, he's all right. He's,
Yeah,
you know,
he is.
on his game, he's decent. He really is a decent player. He'll be a great addition to the squad, but he's not Frankie de Jong. So the fans don't want him. Oh, we're shopping in the bargain basement. His mother's a pain in the arse. Oh, absolutely. That's why you don't go for Icardi because he's his missus. She's a pain in the arse. But Icardi is a great striker. These are things. So no, I don't think we go with a false 9, and I would just chuck Langer up there. I'm sorry.
One thing you
anyone
get
seen
with
the
Elanga is
Morata?
he'd up top. The one thing you would get with Elanga up top is he'd press in the front and he wouldn't
Absolutely.
stop running. I think that's something that, like, look, if he does, let's say, go to Elanga or like a Rashford, for example, they would have the ability to press now, probably more so Elanga than Rashford, because Rashford has, like, when things aren't going his way, he does put the head down. He quite often does. But I do get what you're saying, Stu, on that, like in terms of balance, it mightn't be such a bad idea.
Yeah, it's all it is, really.
What were you just about to say there?
Has anyone seen the Morata links? This feels like 2017, 2018 all over again, but we're now the Athletic coming out and saying that we're in talks with Morata, and I genuinely want to cry. Like, what is
Well,
that
I want
about?
to cry. I want to cry on that one because
No.
you're replacing 20 goals with what does he get a season? 5?
I think he got like 6 at Chelsea or something.
So something like he's not for us, Morata.
At 30 million as well, I think that's a bit steep considering his
29 million euros you want from him.
Yeah.
Is it 30 million quid?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Juventus are looking for.
You're joking.
Yeah.
I can see it happening as well. That's the sad thing. I can genuinely see it happening.
Did you think Murto was in there sorting Morata out yesterday? Well, Rabiot.
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all with Money Murto, to be quite honest. We have a question here from Jordan. I'm going to bring this to you, Mark. He says, do you guys think if we lose today that the owners will be desperate to announce De Jong or indeed any signings straight after the game?
No, I don't think so. I look, they're already under a huge amount of pressure. They have been for 10 years. They do tend to announce things at particular time, which does seem to appease the fans a little bit. But I don't think any other deals at the moment are close. Perhaps Rabiot, but if that's still anything to go by. But I don't think that will be done to appease the fans. It puts even more enormous pressure onto United and Erik ten Hag, but not to the Glazers, not to anyone else. And I can't imagine that will happen straight after them. We may get signings in the next few weeks, but that won't be a spin-off of today's result.
It won't be, but Mark, I wanted to just follow up that question. Who's getting, let's say Frankie de Jong does leave, and I know Sean's probably watching right now. Who do you think Frankie de Jong's going to go to, United or Chelsea?
Not Chelsea.
He can't get it. He cannot get it. If he goes to Chelsea, right, the effigies that'll be outside of Old Trafford for the likes of Murto and Arnold will be ridiculous. United can't allow that to happen.
Allow it to
happen.
Oh,
Sean and I, and if he's watching, I mean all this in jest. We have some really great banter in the chat, but I have to take it happens every summer, and people seem to forget. You read reports all the time about whether a player wants to go here. He said this. All of that in between is absolute bollocks. You don't need to listen to any of that. There is no way in hell that he's spoken to his entourage or even people close and people know about it, about where he wants to go. Fundamentally, he wants to stay at Barcelona. I get that. I understand that. He's at an astute club in the Champions League. Yes, got problems. He doesn't care about that. So he wants to stay. I get that. But there is absolutely no way that he doesn't want to go to Manchester United and he doesn't want to go to Chelsea if that option were opened up for him.
Sean ruins my day on a daily basis. Sean retweets every single thing about De Jong, and every single time I go on Twitter, it just ruins my day. I'm like, well, we go away because it's doing my head in. Every single time I go on, it just says Sean Maroney retweeted. We get it. You want De Jong to come to Chelsea. Stop flooding my timeline with it. It's just depressing.
I'll get him to watch it from 42 minutes onwards later.
You might want to go back to Sean Ellis and say, well, where were you piping up 18 months ago about Frankie de Jong?
Literally, it's everything. Managing Barca, I'm sure he's got a lifelong subscription to that Twitter channel. It's every 2 minutes.
Man United.
I don't even mind. It's not even from a tier 1 or anything. It's from just a random Spanish source, and he's retweeting it.
Well, the thing is, Man United fans 18 months ago weren't talking about Frankie de Jong. He wasn't our saviour 18 months ago. You're talking about at Ajax, he was superb, but so was Donny van der Beek, so was Ziyech. Look at Van der Beek and Ziyech at the minute, struggling, in the English Premier League. Used to say, good old Frankie de Jong, by the way, going to tiptoe his way into Old Trafford or tiptoe his way into Stamford Bridge and change the season for us. Football isn't like that. These clowns, we've got to get de Jong. Oh, get a fucking life. Get a life. If you show me a tweet from 12 months ago to 18 months ago, you wanted Frankie de Jong at Man United, I'll take you seriously. But you show me.
I think everyone was screaming for Paul Pogba this time last year to be that player of the year. I think we're all. That's what football Twitter was saying right then. But
exactly.
We'll go away from football Twitter because
Yeah, football Twitter gets everybody vexed, doesn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, after this show, I'm probably going to have a heap of abuse just for mentioning football Twitter because it always seems to happen. If I showed you my Twitter message request, it's like the Shadow Realm. If anyone watches Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll know that reference. But anyway, we will go into the starting 11s and score predictions. Now I know the lads actually gave their predictions like kind of briefly into the podcast, but we will go further with that. Mark, give me your 1 to 11, and once we get our lineup predictions, we will do our score predictions as well.
Yeah. So David De Gea, I'm pleased Stu's on the show. We have this conversation every time. David De Gea will start today. But I would like to see Tom Heaton come in, if I'm honest. I think over the last few games, we've spoken about this before. We can go into the impact he has on the defence. He's been poor so far. Tom Heaton, for me, is far better with distribution, far more commanding. So whilst we'll see David De Gea, I would like to see Tom Heaton come in, if I'm brutally honest. But we'll see. Yeah. Right back, I think probably Dalot. I think that's a pretty much a foregone. I can't imagine he would go for Aaron Wan-Bissaka if we need to play attacking football against a team like that. I think he'll start with a Malacia at left back today. I think we need again a more attacking approach, and sort of utilise those channels in behind their strikers because they'll be pushing those out wide. And then defence, I would have Varane and Maguire. I would have Martinez in number 6. What worries me about that is Erik ten Hag converted him from a 6 to a centre back, and I have a feeling that we may not see him as a 6, but that's what I'd like to see. And then I would play Donny van der Beek. I think you will see more of him. I think there's a lot more of him. I always sing his praises, and I know people are rightly there to criticise him. He hasn't been what everyone expected, but I think you will see a much better Donny van der Beek this season. I think he'll be utilised a lot more. So I'd have him and Eriksen. I wouldn't play Bruno. I'd have obviously Sancho on the left or the right. Ronaldo up top and Rashford on the left, so Sancho on the right.
Interesting. It looks like we're getting a few Martinez in the 6. Shout say we're not getting Phil Jones in the 6, which is that's absolutely great to hear. Still, can you give me your 1 to 11? Kartik is going to kill me for that one. But
yeah,
still,
for
can you give me
sure.
1 to 11?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I would go Heaton all day long. I know it'll be De Gea, but I'd go Heaton. So I'm going to go with Heaton. For this game, Wan-Bissaka is a much better option. Varane and Maguire. Malacia for sure, for definite. Malacia for sure, over sure. But anyway, Malacia. Martinez as a 6. Eriksen and Van der Beek. Ronaldo, Sancho, and Rashford. That's my 11. That's what I would, if I was Erik ten Hag, that's what I would field tonight.
Interesting. Another Martinez in the 6. Do we have a hat trick, Ellis? Do we have a hat trick? Do you have Martinez in the 6? Do you have any different defenders in there? Do you have Eric Guy in the starting lineup? Do you have anything different to the lads?
I think obviously it's going to be De Gea in there. Right back Dalot, 2 centre halves, Martinez and Maguire. I think only on. Maguire came out in his presser last week and said that they don't really know each other playing next to each other. They don't exactly know who's dropping, who's going to think. I think you need to develop a partnership. You can't just take Martinez out, put him in the 6, and then go, oh look, we've got a new defensive midfielder. That we've signed him as a centre back. He needs to be able to play in his position what he's been signed for, to be able to get to know the league, get to know his centre back partner in Harry Maguire. So I think that was, in my opinion, I think that's where it should stay.
You're absolutely spot on, Ellis. Yeah.
Because we're just gonna stagnate. We're just gonna prolong the problem by putting him in midfield when we sign him as a centre half to be able to play next to Maguire as that left-footed distributor, and he's not gonna be able to do that role if he's playing in midfield. So Maguire and Martinez, Malacia at left back. I don't want to see him at McTominay, so I'd probably say Fred, even though it's a risk as a lone 6, it's very, very risky. But I'd probably play him in a pivot next to Van der Beek. Eriksen, Sancho. You could maybe throw a shout for Garnacho, but I'll probably go Rashford just for the experience, really, and then you go Ronaldo up front if he's fit.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo's by the shoe-in probably today. Considering for everything what Erik ten Hag said, I think we'll most likely see him up top today. I don't think he might play the 90 minutes though today. I think we might play probably about 75 to 80 minutes maybe.
That's what I'm Garnacho on, because Garnacho's issue. If I was playing with Garnacho as a in the same team, I'd be so frustrated with him because he doesn't release the ball. As good as he is at gliding past people, his thought process, it's still under 18s.
Do you think, Stu, like with the relevant coaching, that can maybe be coached out of his game, considering he's so young?
Yeah, that will get coached out of his game, and I think that you'll see him for 20, 25 minutes towards the end of a game, maybe 15 minutes, but you won't see him start. I think if you see him start, it's too dangerous. You've got to understand. Sorry, not you guys. Apologies. People have got to understand that a 17, 18-year-old lad needs to develop mentally as well as physically. And the mental side of football is as important, if not more important, than the physicality of football, because your speed of thought and your ability to make on-field decisions at the right time, at the right moment, is critical. Now, when he came on against Rayo Vallecano, he had people out of his seat, but I want to refer you back, and Ellie, sorry about this, but I want to refer you back to a 17-year-old Ronaldo when he came on against Bolton. For his debut, and he was doing all these tricks. There was absolutely zip end product, and that's what Ferguson had to drill into him week in, week out in the changing room. Garnacho is exactly the same. I don't mean to be disrespectful to the lad, but there's no end product at the minute. Once you get end product out of him, wow, you are going to see a player. You really, really are.
Very exciting, isn't he?
That's why we've just got to be very, very careful at the moment on what you do with him, because he's great. I said the same about Iqbal. When Iqbal was playing against Melbourne Victory, and he does his round the world trick, and everyone's going, fucking hell, just see him. I'd have had him in the changing room and had words with him. As a senior pro, I'd have had words and say, there's a time and a place for that, pal. Friendly matches are, but you do that and you get caught in the Premier League, we concede. It sounds harsh. It does sound harsh. I know it sounds harsh, but that's elite football.
It reminds me a bit of Adnan Yanez. Like, he was thrown in very early and he was brilliant, but then he got played too much. And I think that's like, I think if you play Garnacho a bit too early, you could be at risk seeing another Adnan Yanez. Like,
what a player, though. I mean, he's Keane. He's going to be some player. If we get him right and we do it right with him, he's going to be some football. And that young Hansen, the young Danish guy or Norwegian guy that came on against Ralph. Is this Hansen, isn't it?
Isaac Harren Hansen, something like that. Yeah.
Now, again, there's a lot of talent in there.
Manu, there's good young midfielders, and I think that next generation of midfielders we see. I think in the next 5 years you will see a lot of them be integrated into the squad, especially from that U Cup winning team. And I think a good 3 or 4 of them being integrated into the team between now and obviously a couple of years' time. But I'm going to give my 11 quickly, and then look, we'll get some score predictions in from the whole panel. I'm just going to go what I think Ten Hag will go with, even though, to be fair, there's a couple of these probably I don't agree with myself. I go De Gea in goal. Everyone in this pod knows my feelings. I'm not going to Mark sees it in the chat probably every second day. I'm going to go Dalot right back, Maguire, Martinez, Malacia. I think Malacia will be brought into it. I think Shaw was not great last week. I'm going to go Fred and Eriksen. I think one of McTominay and Fred will be dropped by Ten Hag today, and I think it will be McTominay in there. I think Bruno will start today, despite his struggles. I think he will, even though, like, if you look at the setups, it mightn't be the right thing tactically, but I think Ten Hag will give him another chance in there today. I'll go Sancho, Rashford, and Ronaldo as the front three. Even though, Ellis, I do agree with you, I'd love to see Garnacho get some time today, depending on what the situation is in the game, because I think even though in some situations he might make the right decision, I think he might be that little spark in the team that though Brentford aren't expecting, and what better than throw in something unexpected to kind of throw them off their game. So I'd like to see Garnacho maybe get 15 minutes at the even let's say it's 1-1, you throw a player like that on, that could really throw them off their game, and you could potentially give us something different in an attacking sense in the attack. But I'll go quick score predictions, a quick round robin around the whole panel. I'll go to you first, Mark, since you're hosting the post-match pod on Talk Devils later on. I'm hoping the fact we're doing a preview in the morning can grace you with all the luck, and you aren't talking about another loss today. Give me your score prediction for today's game.
Yeah, my record's not looking very good. Certainly recently for a while now, but
like Ralph Rangnick's record as manager, I think, at this rate.
Yeah, well, it used to be very, very good, just to put it out there. So listen, I can't work miracles, okay? And United have been poor.
Hold on, guys. It'll be 1 sec. My door's going. 1 sec.
No so I think today, I really think we're going to bounce back today. I am more positive, and I'm praying, as I said, that I can talk positively later. So I'm going to go 3-1. And just to quickly put a shameless plug, actually, I'm doing the match reaction later. Stu's on with me. Fred's going to be on, and we got an ex-Man United player as well, in Phil Marsh. That's joining us too. So please come over and have a look at that later. But yeah, 3-1 for me. I think we'll bounce back today, and I'm going to go Ronaldo as first goal scorer.
Brilliant. I have him as on my.
Sorry, guys.
I have Ronaldo on my bet builder as well to score. So hopefully that is the case. Well, look, to be fair, if we get a corner, it goes in off Harry Maguire's arse. I actually don't care. Once we score, that's all that matters. Stu, yourself, score predictions.
2-1. We'll concede first, as usual. And I think Ronaldo will get a brace.
You got me. Do you know what? I'm not even going to give mine, because that's the exact one I gave on Talk to Devils last night. So
was it? Right.
That's the exact prediction we'll concede for. If anyone watched my podcast with Lee and Phil last night, my prediction was United 2-1, and we'll concede first. And Ronaldo, the script is written. He's gonna come up, and he's gonna provide the goods. So I'm not going to go there, because still, you've covered that for me, pal. Absolutely. So that's my score prediction as well. Ellis, you've been absolutely fantastic on the podcast today. I'm going to leave you to last, the best for last. Give us your prediction today, pal.
See, I'm feeling a little bit optimistic. Part of me saying 4-0, but for the fact that I don't think United are going to be able to keep a clean sheet, I'm going to go 4-1. But I feel like we're going to score some goals today. I don't know if it's the heat or because I'm hot and bothered. It might be a little bit of that, but I'm going to go United 4, Brentford 1. I feel like we're going to be in for an absolute feast. Match of the day later.
That's the sort of optimism we want to have. That's the sort of optimism we should all be feeling every week. But no, that's fair.
Nice.
You know what? Do you know what as well? I'm going to add to Ellis's prediction 4-1, and just because he doesn't want Bruno to start, Bruno's going to score as well.
I won't be surprised.
We'll throw a Bruno goal in there just in case.
Pop up with an absolute screamer as well. Just
Probably, yeah. 25
Yeah, Bruno
yards,
might score
25 yards out off the crossbar. Literally won't surprise me.
Ellis, that happens. Expect a message on WhatsApp literally 30 seconds later off Leon. That's all I'd say.
I'm not surprised.
His face, he's going to go into hiding if that's going.
Yeah, I'm just going to delete WhatsApp, to be honest, and just delete all my socials.
So there's the lads' predictions. Hopefully, we've all predicted wins, which is very positive, and let's hope we do get the 3 points here today. Because look, we're up against the Scousers next week. We're going to need them because they're going to be coming for their revenge after being defeated in the Bangkok Century Cup and all that. Like, so, you know, they'll be coming for revenge there next week. But Jared has less optimistic than all of us. He says 2-1 Brentford. I hope that's not the case. That'd be a disaster. And Ellis, and he's also saying he's hoping that Ellis's positivity does rub off on United today. But thanks very much everyone tuning in. I think we'll actually do, with the fact when United are actually playing on Sundays this season, we actually might do more of these shows. I do like this kind of morning show feeling. So thanks very much for everyone for tuning in. It's been a fantastic show. Thanks to the lads as well. Been a brilliant conversation we had today. And thanks everyone Joe, for showing to continue to support the last couple of weeks and months. Do be sure to hit like on the video and subscribe as well. We do have a lot coming up. The Talk League podcast is back Monday evening as well. You have you have Evan and you have Steve coming on the podcast with Matt there as well, and we'll have an Arsenal fan on there as well. So we'll be talking about the London clubs. It looks like they are going to be ones who are poised to challenge Liverpool and Manchester City this season. So we will be talking about that as well. But thanks very much to the whole panel for coming on. Thanks to everyone who's listening and who will watch on the replay. And I hope you all have a good weekend. And look, put on your Factor 50 and don't get burnt this weekend. But thanks very much everyone for watching, and we'll see you in a while.